Hi everyone. Today I want to show you my garden's progression from April 12th through the middle of June. You can see I've got salvias blooming here and some foxgloves. I've planted some impatiens from seed, and I just want to show how my garden progresses from when I just plant it right around this time of year to the middle of June. This is my shade garden, and you can see how bright everything is. The polka dot plants, the heucheras, the carex, and especially the ajuga is really bright at this time of the year. I've got a few columbines in there and some coleus. Here is the burgundy glow ajuga. You can see how bright that is, and that will fade as it gets warmer. We've got begonias in here and nice sunflower. This is the Sunfinity Double Yellow. You can see my phlox there is just starting to come up. And at this time of the year, our verbenas and our supertunias are really beautiful and blooming like crazy, very bright. I've got some zinnias planted in here, which I do move later because they're not getting enough sun over here. And we've got some more Endurascape verbena, and I've left my kales in from the winter just because I didn't have anything to replace them and they hadn't bolted, so I just left them, and those will do fine all summer, and then they'll brighten up and fill out in the fall and into the winter, and those will overwinter for us. And I've got some sweet potato vines on the end here just to fill in. This is the difficult part of my garden. That's mostly shade, but then gets hot afternoon sun. So I struggle with what to put there. In the island bed, we've got some Feather Falls carex, and you can see how small our begonias and our coleus are. At May 9th, our salvias are starting to go past, and so are our foxgloves. The yarrow is starting to bloom, and so is our sea lavender, and our Russian sage is starting to come up. Our impatiens are getting larger, filling in. We've got salvias filling in and blooming. And in the shade garden here, everything is starting to fill in a little bit more, especially the carex. And I've got a couple of tuberous begonias in the front there. Our caladiums haven't come up yet. That Miss Muffet caladium in the background is one from last year that came back. And you can see the burgundy glow ajuga is not quite as bright anymore. Our double Sunfinity sunflower is starting to fill in. We've got a white salvia in bloom there. And our verbenas and our supertunias are still looking good. And I still haven't moved the zinnias yet, but in the next clip you'll see that they're gone. I got a daylily getting ready to bloom there. That's Ruby Spider. I'll have to move that one. It doesn't do very well there. It's not getting enough sun. And look at our sweet potato vines. They're starting to fill in. Behind that, I've got some Rudbeckia and some Echinacea. And in the island, our carex is starting to fill in, and our coleus are getting a little bit bigger, and so are our begonias. Everything looks so nice and fresh at this time of the year. That's really a magical time of the year. The Scabiosa is starting to bloom, and I do have a yarrow. June 9th, you can see our phlox in the background is starting to bloom. Our coleus are starting to fill in. This is Beauty to Behold Daylily. And right next to it, there's a sedum that's coming up. And some begonias and lemon coral sedum. That phlox is really beautiful and starting to come into its own. And then I've got a couple of salvias here. This is Rock and Fuchsia by Proven Winners. behind that you can see an echinacea starting to bloom and some Russian sage. The canna is starting to bloom in the background. And then back behind that is our Mystic Spires salvia. And right next to it, I've got some larkspur that are starting to go past, but I'm leaving those in so that they can set seed, and I'll have them again next year. And going into the shade garden, I've added a sweet potato vine to fill in where that ajuga has some patches missing because we had powdery mildew issues last year with it, which is the first time that's ever happened with my ajuga, but those will fill back in very quickly. By the end of the season, that'll be a solid mass again. Got a little phlox blooming there. It doesn't do great there. It's getting a little too much shade. And you can see our clowning around caladiums are up. They're even bigger now. They get very big leaves. They're an amazing caladium. And we've got all our ajugas and our carex, a couple of columbines. And this area, this is the shadiest area right here. So you can see I struggle with plantings there. I've tried everything, every shade plant I know in that area. It's just too shady. And the euphorbia is growing really nice and big, and the begonias are looking good. My Sunfinity sunflower is filling in. The phlox is just getting ready to bloom in the background there. That's John Fanick phlox. And our sunny bed over here is looking pretty good. And this is a Lysimachia. Well, this is sold as an annual, but this is actually a perennial for us. And we've got pink cashmere superbena there in the background. The native phlox is blooming. That is a Poco Coral echinacea in the middle there. And that's unplugged, so blue salvia just starting to bloom. I'll move that one in the fall as well because that's not getting enough sun, so it's just mediocre. It is a much prettier plant when it's in the full sun. And our daylily has gone past. We've got still an Endurascape verbena there. And our Dusty Millers do a good job of filling in this space. Those smaller Dusty Millers will get much larger and hopefully fill in this area. Dusty Miller and sweet potato vines are the things that have done best for me over in this area. Because shade plants fry over here, and sun plants just don't grow very well. You can see our sweet potato vines are filling in, and soon those will be cascading over the side. I'll have to start cutting them back to keep them off the lawn. And our begonias are looking pretty over here. And down in the island, everything's starting to grow in. Our carex and our coleus in particular. I've got a rogue gladiolus there. I had moved those bulbs out a couple years ago, and obviously I missed one, so I'll need to move that in the fall. But everything is looking nice and full and pretty. Here's an update on where we are today. I just wanted to show the phlox blooming in the crepe myrtle. And then there's another dwarf crepe myrtle towards the front there. That's blooming. And clowning around, caladiums are filling in really nicely. And our John Fanick phlox is just starting to bloom. And the sweet potato vines are filling in really nicely. And that's the update up to today. Thank you for watching.